Whereas learning can be seen in many animals, teaching is a uniquely human activity. It is also a very old activity. For example, ancient Egyptian civilization flourished between 3000 and 1500 BCE. Writing and formal education are seen as an indispensable part of this highly developed civilization. Some of my students are registrars. A registrar is a medical doctor that is in training to become a specialist in a specific area of medicine or surgery. They are qualified doctors with varying amounts of work experience. They are postgrad students. They are also workers, integral to the functioning of the unit in which they are training. So my registrars are doctors that are specializing in chemical pathology, which involves the biochemical investigation of bodily fluids, such as blood, urine, and CSF. By analyzing changes in body chemistry, diseases can be diagnosed and monitored. Chemical pathology brings together science, medicine, and a good dose of art. Being a registrar is an incredibly challenging part of a doctor's career path. Balancing responsibilities to service, training, and studying is not an easy task. They need regular learning opportunities, and they need their learning opportunities to be time efficient. What they learn needs to stick, and they need to be able to access this information. Being their teacher is similarly challenging. As a specialist chemical pathologist, I have dual responsibilities to UCT and to NHLS. Juggling teaching, research, administration, and community can be quite demanding. Then there is service delivery. With these stresses and strains, registrar teaching is all too often compromised. So I needed to do something innovative. My intervention was to use guerrilla tactics to improve my teaching. I designed guerrilla teaching to be creative, low-cost strategy to meet the conventional goals of building dynamic learning environments by the unconventional event of briefly invading time during the normal working day. So I called the registrars together for a 10-minute power education session where a fundamental topic is covered. The session is highly interactive and aims to push and pull information into and out of all those present. The experience should feel energetic and engaging. Understanding can be clarified. The goal is to elicit a summary of the subject matter. Then their tree of knowledge should mature and grow. I use the Japanese concept of Kaizen for improvement projects and in my day-to-day work. Kai means change, and Zen in this context means good. So Kaizen means change for the better or improvement. In this process, improvements are usually incremental and ongoing, striving for better efficiency and quality of work. The continuous improvement cycle of Kaizen includes the 4 processes: plan, do, check, and act. The plan. I needed to develop tactics for my guerrilla teaching. I created a messaging group to communicate an incoming learning attack. The teaching should be on time and stop when 10 minutes is up. There's no sitting down. One topic. The session is interactive with questions, comments, and activities. Use of multimedia, objects, drawings, diagrams, acting out is all encouraged, along with anecdotes and stories. Guerrilla teaching should promote regular teaching and learning, enable time-efficient learning, build strong basic knowledge, make learning fun. In essence, I wanted to use an unconventional approach to pursue conventional goals. To be successful, my project needed a good plan, the support of the registrars, benchmarks, assessment tools and strategies, and a strategy to cycle through continuous improvement. I picked a Kaizen approach. Next, we had to do. I started guerrilla teaching in early May. To date, I've given 12 sessions on topics ranging from having low sodium in the blood to red urine due to beetroot ingestion. On average, 4 students are present, and we are finding ways to involve those not on site. Then, I needed to evaluate the project. This is the check of Plan, Do, Check, Act. And for this, I asked the registrar some questions over email, encouraging them to be honest for the sake of improvement. The registrars like the spontaneity, that it doesn't take too long, and that it feels energizing. It forces one to think on the spot, and the conversation can go in very interesting directions. They found it easy to gauge what they know and where the gaps are that need work, and it inspired them to read more on the topics. They enjoy the consultant-led teaching that is directed towards a specific subject matter, but that the learning is still in a group. The interactive nature of the teaching suited their learning style. There is always room for improvement. Too much time is spent getting going, and the start can be a bit slow. Sometimes we go a little over time, and should we increase the length of the time to 15 minutes? Was a common question. Topics have been quite random, and the registrars have debated whether there should be some structure to the topics, such as following the curriculum for the month. There is a concern that topics are not popular or esoteric or boring will not receive attention. It can be challenging to ensure that all levels of students from junior to senior gain something from the session. Spontaneity can be disruptive at times, and so a heads up would be helpful. For a number of reasons, not everyone can always join. These are my students that take part in guerrilla teaching. I then asked them to consider the objectives of guerrilla teaching and identify one major element that still needs to be addressed. This question was aimed at identifying a gap. It didn't have to be easy to solve. The feedback included trying to include topics and depth of topics to cover curriculum while covering topics people don't like. They asked for more lab management topics. We needed to find ways to include those that were not present. Finally, the students should be left with something worth discussing after the teacher leaves. After checking in, we should act and make improvements. As a group, we decided to focus on the following. We want to include those not present by recording the teaching attack and making it available to them. To prevent disruption, there will be a heads up of at least 30 minutes, so students can finish what they are currently doing. We will also try having most of the sessions line up with the curriculum for the month and ensure esoteric, boring, and management topics are covered over time. The project has also led to some additional benefits. The students decided to put a short summary of the session on the messaging group as a take-home message. Our medical scientist interns have been included in the teaching, and they usually join. The project has inspired the registrars to have their own guerrilla teaching sessions, where a senior registrar is the host. I think that keeping it strictly to 10 minutes leaves everyone wanting more. Personally, guerrilla teaching has turned an overwhelming task into something manageable, a precarious balancing act into a fun game. I feel that I want to teach. When the session ends, I wanted to continue, which means that I come back again happy and energized. Fulfilling this task brings me peace. My final question asked the registrars to summarize guerrilla teaching in one word. Useful, worthwhile, stimulating, productive, informative, intriguing, and I even got a revolutionary. Viva la revolution.